Former President Donald Trump is now technically banned from 37 countries, which prohibit convicted felons from entry. The United States also observes this law, which brings the total up to 38, according to World Population Review. Countries that follow this ban include the United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada, which is set to host the 67 summit in 2025, as well as China, Israel, and Mexico. Trump would have to seek special permissions to enter many of these countries, which are crucial locations on the POTUS's travel circuit. Exceptions can be made, like when George W. Bush needed a waiver to enter Canada due to a past arrest. Trump is the first U.S. president to face a criminal trial, with 34 felony counts. His sentencing hearing is set for July 11th.
Welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel, battling MS, and thank you for joining us. I'm over here celebrating that we got up to 10,180 subscribers. Thank you so much. We're not going to stop giving you guys information and bringing on more news. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Elon Musk and what he thinks about the trial, the Trump trial that happened in New York just recently. And I wanted to talk about that. Let's take a look.
I want to go back to Elon Musk on this because there's a whole bunch of people lining up right now in that wide tent who disagree on almost everything, but are trying to figure out how we can restore America. He retweeted, I'll read the Geiger Capital tweet first, and then I'll read Elon's response. The first felony conviction of a former U.S. president wasn't for the Iraq or Afghanistan wars, illegal CIA coups, drone strike weddings, or spying on Americans. It was because Trump misclassified a $130,000 payment for a porn star's blah, blah, blah. You get the point. And Elon retweeted that and wrote, "Indeed, great damage was done today to the public's faith in the American legal system."
That's insane. Are you serious? Convicted felon.
System. If a former president can be criminally convicted over such a trivial matter, motivated by politics rather than justice, then anyone is at risk of a similar fate. Now, again, guys, most people, I would venture to say about 90% of people that you're going to talk to at the dinner table tonight or at the store or at the gym or wherever, they're going to have no idea what they got Trump on. It is over a misappropriated $130,000 payment to the porn star for the hush money from over a decade ago, okay? And that it was listed wrong on the taxes.
And you know, I heard some people saying that a crime is a crime is a crime. Therefore, he needs to be a convicted felon. But that is insane once you really think about it.
That's the basics of it, okay? Do you really, let's say that really is a crime. And then what they try to do, because it's 34 counts, you get all these other subsequent crimes that are related to that. But let's say Trump really did do that. Let's say the $130,000 payment really was classified wrong because it was a way to avoid taxes or something to that effect. Let's say 100% you nailed him on that. Do you think it's worth not allowing the guy to run for president right now because of that? Do you think that is good for our republic? Do you think that is good for the ability for us to believe in the system? You know, a system only works if enough of us believe in it. Quoting freaking Padme from
that does sound good. Do we believe in the system, what it's doing to us?
The prequels now, but that's really the truth. If enough of us just stop believing that any of it works, then it actually doesn't work. And that's what the system just pushed more of us into. There are an awful lot of people right now that are like, wow, maybe the system is kind of evil. I thought the system was a little corroded. I thought the system was a little whacked out. Now it's starting to come off as evil.
You know what? It's sad to see that we have a lot of sheeps that just follow along with whatever the news says or whatever the mainstream media says and just believe it. Like the guy's a criminal, therefore convicted felon Trump needs to be charged. That's the new name, convicted felon Trump. It's crazy. The coolest name. Let me play another video here. But Elon Musk always pointing things out. And I think coming up, Elon Musk is going to take Trump's side. He's going to go ahead and campaign for Trump. I think it's going to happen. And once you get two main people, which is Joe Rogan and Elon Musk campaigning for Trump, it's over. He's definitely going to win. So definitely wait for that. Let me play this video real quick. When it comes to the news, I don't think it matters who is saying it as long as they're spitting facts. pointing things that we should be aware of what's happening.
All right, so the jurors,
Let me play.
Joe Biden's never worked harder than his first day in office. I've never seen a man sign so many things. It was executive order after executive order. He didn't really know what he was signing, but in 24 hours, Biden's John Hancock broke the border, making him the most successful travel agent in history. But Biden's success turned our country into the United Nations parking lot. And he told Time magazine he had no regrets about reversing.
And see that right there? That's facts. He definitely did all of that. He signed away our border security, and everybody just came into America. Again, facts. What else can you call it?
Reversing Trump's policies, saying this: if I was wrong, it's because I took too long. For 4 years, we demanded he put it back together. He ignored us for 3. And in year 4, he said, I don't have the power. We even told him the act that Congress passed that gave him the power. Still nothing until today.
Today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border. I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum.
Comment below. What do you think? Do you really believe this nonsense? Because why are people not seeing this as political? What is it called? They just talking to the people saying like, look what I'm doing. Look what I did. You should have done this several years ago. But you know what? Comment below. What do you think? Do you agree with Biden, what he's doing? Is it really safe?
Oh. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process. And those who seek to come to the United States legally, for example, by making an appointment and coming to a port of entry, asylum will still be available to them, still available.
Biden threw himself a party at the White House to celebrate. But Democrat senators in swing states up for re-election didn't show because Biden's toxic and not in a masculine way. Biden's so-called border shutdown order doesn't shut down the border at all. It keeps catch and release. We read it, and so did Trump.
Now, after nearly 4 years of his failed, weak leadership, pathetic leadership, crooked Joe Biden is pretending to finally do something about the border. But in fact, it's all about show because he knows we have a debate coming up in 3 weeks. The truth is that Joe Biden's executive order won't stop the invasion. It's weak and it's pathetic. It will actually make the invasion worse. Millions of people a year will continue to pour across our border and be released into our country.
Biden claims he'll shut down the border if illegal crossings hit 2,500 a day, but they're already over 3,000.
You know how crazy that is? That over 3,000 people are coming per day. To me, those numbers are just astronomical. And the only people like the elites don't notice it because it doesn't affect them directly. It's not at their home. They thinking it's the border. These numbers are whatever, not really caring. And right now, it's a talking point for Biden to say that, look what I'm doing. But after November, if he wins, he's going to open it right back up. Like, I don't know why people are not waking up. But I'm going to wake up. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say it. This is a problem. This is crazy. And these are facts. It's not just coming from Facts News. Look at the video. I can see it with my own eyes.
So let's just say Biden shuts down the border immediately. What does it really mean? It means this. If Jose gets caught crossing the border, and if we say, Mexico, take him, and Mexico just says, no way, Jose stays in Estados Unidos. Biden has no deal with Mexico. They just elected a new president yesterday. She's brand new. Biden hasn't even called to congratulate her, let alone cut a deal. There's no plan to deport anyone. Biden's just hoping that they leave. What happens is he keeps releasing them into the country, but they just aren't allowed to apply for asylum.
You know how crazy that is? And in New York, we just had an illegal migrant shoot up like 2 police officers. Like, we don't know these people. Why are we letting all these people in? Now we got gang members in America putting everybody's lives at risk. Oh, man, this is insane. What are we doing? This is the election year, so we got to voice our opinion. We got to be verbal on life. Welcome to my channel. Let's keep watching.
So they just stay here in the shadows or in hotels for free. It's not like he's flying the Venezuelans back to Venezuela. Venezuela won't accept deportation flights. Migrants are still going to come here, and they're just going to stay because they're just not going to need asylum. So Biden's shutting down asylum claims, right? Wrong. Biden's still letting 1,400 illegals per day come into the country if they use the asylum app.
Do you hear that? Per day. Again, the number I don't think is registering with a lot of sheeps in America who don't see the problem with this until it affects their community directly. Just like the different cities like New York City and Chicago who are crying right now and saying that the mayor said, this is going to destroy the city. Letting all these illegal migrants into the city is going to destroy New York because it's a right to shelter city where they have to like find a home for everybody. This is insane, and somebody got to say it.
You remember open table for illegals? You get to make a reservation to break into the country. And if you're a minor, Biden's executive order still lets you in. You get asylum. Or if you've been trafficked, which literally every migrant is, Biden still lets you in with asylum. And Biden's still flying in 30,000 migrants a month. That doesn't stop. But this is the best part. Migrants can still show up at the border and claim they're scared, and they're fast-tracked into the country. You get asylum if you say you're scared.
Look at the loopholes. I mean, come on now. Let's translate this into whatever language you want and just tell people what to say when you get to the border. And that's it. You get open borders. Everybody coming through.
I'm sure the migrants have never heard that. This executive order just orders more illegals. I'll take 30,000 Venezuelans in the air, 1,400 Mexicans on the app, and we'll do some Chinese and all the kids you can eat.
Who's going to watch those unaccompanied children? If they are allowed in, you don't ship them back. You don't do anything like that. So where do they go?
Neil, we deal with unaccompanied children in a humanitarian way, adhering to our values. We deter irregular migration. We build lawful pathways.
But this encourages
we have
drug
programs
cartels
for
to
minors.
take advantage of those kids, does it not, sir?
Neil, we're taking it to the drug cartels with unprecedented strength. We're going to adhere to our values while we take tough enforcement measures, which is what we have done.
Does anybody believe the Biden administration has taken it to the cartels with unprecedented strength? Have you heard anything about Biden dismantling the cartels?
No, he's giving them green light. Open up your mind. Stop pretending you don't see this problem. Come on now. And not only that, but the illegal migrants, if you go to New York, they're giving out free welfare, free healthcare, free everything. But yet they came here illegally. Insane.
Any big arrests? Any big shootouts? Biden and the cartels are in league together. Even NBC is saying this executive order is a joke.
There is a pretty big difference between what this executive order looks like on paper and what Biden and other Democrats are using it to say they are doing in terms of shutting down the border, saying they're taking dramatic action, et cetera, and what it looks like how it'll actually play out on the ground. I'm pretty skeptical at this point that this is going to have any kind of immediate.
Look at these numbers. 4,000 daily per day. Try to open up your minds and think about that. That's insane. 4,000 people, human lives are coming through every day. Come on now. This is crazy numbers.
Measurable, dramatic result in terms of the number of people crossing.
A Venezuelan Biden migrant, Bernardo Maita, a gangbanger, just shot up a New York City cop in the leg, put 2 slugs in another cop's chest. Luckily, he's alive because of his bulletproof vest. Venezuelan gangs are infiltrating migrant camps.
Shout out to the police officer. You got shot in the chest. Thank God he's alive. Because that's insane.
From coast to coast. Investigative journalist Jonathan Cho caught a gang right outside of Seattle.
TDA members are also suspected of infiltrating the migrant camp at Riverton Park United Methodist Church in Tukwila, just a few miles away from Seattle. We've obtained this internal email sent out by Puget Sound fire officials in April, warning first responders about this serious threat, saying firefighters are only allowed to enter church grounds if they are accompanied by 3 police units. Graham Bay is an outreach worker and has helped migrants move into area motels.
What do you do when you got 0 opportunities for work? You got 0 opportunities to advance yourself.
He says young men without anything to do all day at the camp are being actively recruited to join the gang.
What's happened is you've concentrated a bunch of people together and you've allowed them.
I mean, look at the lines. Like, I can see it with my eyes. You don't even have to give me the numbers. I can see it. And regular news network may not be showing it, but the video is right there. Come on now. Fox News is just showing it. This is some bull.
To begin to drift into the fringes of society.
Biden threw a party to celebrate keeping these people in the country. Look how easy it is.
Where are you guys from? What country?
Mauritania.
Mauritania, from Africa.
Yes.
Yeah? And why'd you guys come to the United States? What country?
Nepal.
Nepal?
Yeah.
All of you from Nepal?
Yeah. No English.
This is America. See the red lights? That's Border Patrol. Straight. No. San Diego. See the lights?
San Diego. Okay. Thank you.
San Diego, right there. Biden's faux executive order isn't designed to protect the country. It's to protect his campaign. Last election, he ran on opening the border.
So, I mean, where did you hear that? Here's a good question. Where did you hear that? Where did you hear that, Noel? Like I said, we got to look at all the news. You can't stay stuck on, let's say, CNN is just showing you rainbows and beach fronts and everybody having fun, when in reality, the borders are open. And look at that. This man is just playing with your emotions. Why are we letting so many people in? Why nobody saying stop? You can't tell me I don't see this. It's right there. You don't need to see any other news network, but just anybody with a camera on top of the border, you'll see it. So come on now. Keep watching.
In this election, he wants you to think he's closing it.
Back in June of 2020, Biden was actually trusted more on the question of border security and immigration by a single point. Look at where we are in May of 2024. My goodness gracious. Look at this huge jump that Donald Trump has gotten. He is now ahead on this issue by 27 percentage points. So I'm used to seeing 10, 15, maybe 20 point shifts, but basically a 30 point shift, 28 points if you want to be exact. That is very, very different.
A majority of the country now supports mass deportations. 42% of Democrats support it. If you care about the safety, security, and integrity of this country, there's only one man running to achieve that. The other one's trying to fool you. Don't be fooled.
It's right there. Like I said, this man is going to deport everybody. But you know what? I'm happy that at least he's going to try. That's all I want to see, somebody trying their best, not just making money off the government.
Senator Ted Cruz joins me now. So, Senator, I have this stupid executive order right here. You can still come in, even if Biden shuts down the border. Say you're scared, and Biden fast tracks you into New York City for asylum.
Yeah, look, this thing is utterly fake. It's a joke. Biden knows it's a joke. Now, I will say what's notable. He finally admitted today that he could have done something about this from the very beginning. He could have issued this order in 2021. He could have issued this order in 2022. He could have issued this order in 2023. He could have issued it last month or the month before or the month before. And he didn't. Why? Because he wants the 11 million illegals who have invaded this country. This is the outcome they want. They see them all as future Democrat voters. And so if people have to die, if people have to be murdered, if Laken Riley has to die, Joe Biden and the Democrats are.
But look at those videos. That's not AI. Those videos are not fake. We can see this. This is insane. Now we got a president pretending that he's doing something about it.
We're okay with it. If the 2 NYPD officers shot this week by a Venezuelan illegal immigrant who was captured, we had him in Eagle Pass, Texas. And what did Joe Biden do? He let him go. And that Venezuelan went to New York and shot 2 cops. That's happening every week. And this has nothing to do with securing the border. This is all about the election in 5 months, and this is political camouflage. Joe Biden wants to say, I solved the problem, and it's all a prop. He thinks the voters are stupid, and they're going to ignore the last 3.5 years.
Well, you heard Mayorkas say that the administration's taken it to the cartels with unprecedented strength. I mean, you're down in Texas, Senator. Have you witnessed that?
Well, actually, he's inadvertently correct. The only time Mayorkas or Biden tell the truth is when they do it accidentally. Unprecedented strength. Let me give you two.
Look at the border. Insane. You got adults, kids. That's a humanitarian crisis right there. And we're not doing anything about it? Are you serious?
Stats from the New York Times. The Mexican drug cartels in 2018 made roughly $500 million from human trafficking. $500 million is a lot of money. Last year, the Mexican drug cartels made over $13 billion from human trafficking. That's a 2,600% increase. So he's right. He's taken the cash to the cartels with unprecedented force. He's made them the most powerful forces in Mexico. And not only is he destroying America, he's also destroying Mexico. Look, in Texas, Mexico is our neighbor. Mexico is a wonderful, beautiful country, and the cartels are now terrorizing the people of Mexico. They are murdering people. They are kidnapping people. He has turned them into multi-billion-dollar global criminal conspiracies who are smuggling criminals and terrorists into America.
He's going to blame you. He's going to blame Trump at the debate. He's going to say, you didn't want this bipartisan deal. You guys buried it. I had a solution. You walked away because of politics. What's Trump and what are the Republicans going to say?
Look, there wasn't a bipartisan deal. There was a Chuck Schumer deal. That was a terrible, terrible deal. The Chuck Schumer deal would have made the problem worse. The Chuck Schumer deal put in the law catch and release. It codified it. The Chuck Schumer deal gave work permits to illegal immigrants when they arrive here. The Chuck Schumer deal gave taxpayer-funded lawyers to illegal immigrants when they got here. The Chuck Schumer deal normalized roughly 2 million illegal immigrants a year, every year in perpetuity. It was a terrible, terrible deal. And the reason is Chuck Schumer doesn't want to secure the border. Joe Biden doesn't want to secure the border. The Democrats.
Look at the lines of people. I mean, this is the time to be alive. If you're from another country, this is the time to come here to America. And your dreams will come true. Look at this. Insane.
Don't want to secure the border. They want this invasion. The whole purpose of the Chuck Schumer deal was for every Democrat running for re-election to say, see, we had a deal that would have fixed it, but the mean old Republicans wouldn't agree to it. And that's what Joe Biden is doing now. Now, I will make a prediction, Jesse. In the next few months, we're going to see the numbers drop down a little bit. And this is just like what Biden did with gas prices. They're trying to fool the voters into ignoring his disastrous record. He wants this invasion, and so does every other Democrat.
Yeah, it's enough.
I mean, it's just what we can see, what is obvious, just by looking at the television. Stop pretending we don't see the human lives coming through the border. So not only just the numbers are huge, but we can see it that they're coming through. I mean, Josh Ray, I can see that you're scared. You may be, what's it called? Faking it, but yeah, we are scared because we are being invaded. Ever heard of an invasion? This is what it looks like. So we got to say something about it. Nobody cares to deal with it next 4 years. So, my man, if we get 4 more years of people coming across the border, oh my God, it's going to be insane. All we're going to get is promises, telling us, oh, we're going to do something. Nothing gets done until something horrible happens. And then you see all these politicians saying, okay, from now on, we're going to fix it by doing X, Y, and Z. Then they start pretending like they're going to do something. So, we got to look past the lies. That's it. Man up. Hold them to task. Let them know, like, yo, you got to really do something. You got to stop lying. And you know you could do something because if you think about it, he talking about closing the border from 4,000 a day to 2,500. Wait, if you could close down the border to 2,500, why don't you just close the border, period? And that's it. and be a little bit tighter about it, not letting people in. Like, people are not thinking. All they do is vote political party versus self-interest. We got to stop doing that. Forget the political party and look at your self-interest. Bringing in Trump and somebody else, bring down gas prices, bring down inflation, bring down grocery prices, make the streets safer. It's a lot of good things by switching parties. But insane.
Numbers game. They do it with inflation. They do it with the jobs reports. They do it all the time. We're not going to be fooled by it. Senator Ted Cruz, Texas, thanks as always.
Thanks, Jesse.
Hunter Biden's gun trial and a former sex cult member ahead. Explosive second day in the Hunter Biden trial, the case where we do know the crime. We had tears, drugs, a scapegoat, and our first look at the laptop from hell. We'll have more on that in a moment. This case is all about Hunter lying on a gun form, which the prosecution will easily prove with pictures, videos, texts, witnesses.
It's a little bit sad of Hunter Biden because he did so much. He pushed the envelope to see how far he could use drugs and break the law and see how far he can get. Went to prestigious university and he just tested every single bound, recorded everything on his laptop and still pushing. So in a way, we want to give Hunter Biden a little bit of props, but he just didn't care about his influence about anybody else, but just pushing himself. See how much drugs he can take without collapsing.
And cocaine residue on the gun holster. But Hunter's lawyer says that's not Hunter's drug residue. It's Haley's, Hunter's brother's widow, the one he was sleeping with. Yeah, Hunter's throwing his brother's widow under the bus. The defense also said that Hunter didn't even want to buy a gun. Hunter just drove Joe Biden's black Cadillac down to the AT&T store to buy a phone. Across the street was a gun store where a pushy salesman convinced Hunter to buy a Colt Cobra 38 special revolver with a speed loader and a box of ammo. You know how pushy salesmen are. Prosecutors also pointed out that Hunter took out thousands of dollars in cash a day, presumably to buy drugs. The defense says it wasn't for drugs. Hunter just didn't own any credit cards. He keeps cash like Fannie. Jurors saw videos of Hunter using drugs and listened to clips from Hunter's audiobook, and there were a lot of tears. Carrie Bond was in the courtroom and has the details. Carrie, who was crying?
Yeah, so Ashley Biden apparently shed a few tears while we were in there. I didn't personally see that, but our producer, Jake Gibson, did.
And by the way, that was funny that he said that he keeps cash like Fannie. That's a whole new thing now, saying that you keep everything in cash, so there's no records.
I have to tell you that,
Wow.
Jesse, I was a bit surprised about that, given that Hunter Biden went on a pretty well-known book tour over this, about this book a couple of years ago. And, you know, we sat through listening to about an hour of Hunter's own words in his own voice, listening to his audiobook as he detailed his wild drug escapades, including him talking about how finding crack was his superpower. So that was an interesting point sitting there. You know, I was watching the jurors' faces this afternoon. One tried not to laugh as a message was read from Hunter to Hallie where he called her unhinged and crazy for calling the FBI about his gun. Meanwhile, she called them because he had left it in an unlocked car with the windows down, and she was afraid the kids were going to find it. And she also was afraid he was going to either harm himself or others, given the fact that he had just the day before been texting her about being on a car and smoking crack and talking about doing a drug deal with a guy named Mookie.
My man Mookie. And you know, you can't keep using that as an alibi, saying that I'm sorry, my decision was wrong because I was on drugs. That's like the worst excuse. Like, you can commit any crime you want and just say, my bad, I was on drugs. It doesn't work that way. You can't use that pardon. Like, my man, are you insane? You were on drugs and you stayed on it for a very long time, even purchase of a gun. Crazy.
So it was an interesting day.
All right. So the jurors think Hunter's funny, and they're witnessing the Biden family cry. I don't think this is going the way the prosecution thought it would.
Let me take that out the screen. I wrote down Trump Vivek because I hope Trump picks Vivek as a VP. You know, he probably won't, but you can always hope at this particular point. So if Trump picks Vivek, to me, that's a great ticket. I don't know if it's a winning ticket, which is different than an ideal ticket. I think it's ideal, but I don't know if it'll win the presidency. So let the man Trump decide who he wants. That's my pick, Vivek. All right.
What else happened today? Was there anybody else who cried? Were they bored?
The jurors were paying pretty close attention. You know, one thing I noticed, and Jesse, I mentioned this to you earlier, you know, Hunter had these interesting orange glasses on. I'm not sure if that was to get the attention of the jury or what. His wife was sitting behind him. He kissed her right before he sat down after lunch. And by the way, Jill Biden and Ashley Biden left during the lunch break, so we didn't see them this afternoon. But we'll see how this goes. Look, the prosecution has overwhelming evidence about Hunter's drug use, both before, during, and after the time that he bought the gun.
All right. Well, we'll see how it shakes out. Always interesting. And down in Delaware, you never know what's going to happen, Carrie. Thanks as always.
Thank you.
This might seem like an open and shut case, but Jonathan Turley points out Hunter's legal team might have an ace up their sleeve. It's called jury nullification. It's when you pick a jury that will give you a not guilty verdict. They know you're guilty, but they just disagree with the law. The strategy plays on the racial makeup of the jury, which is mostly black, as well as the Biden's influence in Delaware. The hope is this jury won't convict for a drug-related crime. Everybody in Delaware knows the Bidens. That's why Jill and Ashley are sitting front row. But that's not all. The Biden family brought Mouse to court. Mouse is a Delaware legend. Joe Biden was the best man at his wedding. Mouse runs Delaware's NAACP and has been involved in the community for decades. They want every black juror to see Mouse sitting with the Bidens. If you can get the jury on your side, all of a sudden, this case is not a slam dunk. Susan Constantine's a jury consultant. All right, Susan, let's go through some of these jurors. Almost all of them seem to have some drug history or family history with drugs. One juror's childhood best friend died from a heroin overdose. Another juror had an alcoholic brother-in-law. Brother-in-law is now dead.
You know, I'm surprised that they don't get disqualified with all these drug-related incidents that these jurors have. Crazy.
One juror's dad was shot dead, and his brother was arrested for narcotics possession. Another juror pled guilty to a DUI, and another juror had an older brother addicted to PCP and heroin. How do you think these jurors are?
Well, they're definitely drug qualified, right, Jesse? So the fact that they've got so many family members and people that are close to them, a lot of them might have some sensitivity, knowing that what they've gone through as a friend, maybe as a family member, the trauma that they go through, but also too the rehabilitation side of it. So some of them might have empathy and compassion for Biden just because they have some background also in it within their family. So this is probably a good move for the defense.
Okay. And now we have another juror who says weed is no big deal and you should be able to buy a gun on it. She seems like a pro-defense juror to me. How about this one, though? This juror used to work for the Secret Service, and her husband is currently a member of the Secret Service.
Well, you know, I'm surprised that she actually admitted that. But then again, I'm sure that would have been found out. But in fact that this is Secret Service, I think that those jurors would look at that and they're going, okay, well, this person's in the Secret Service. We've got Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. He's also been accused of taking drugs and so forth. So, you know, if it's okay for the government agents to do it, then why isn't it for him? So I'm really surprised, of course, that this one was not struck by the state. I mean, why didn't they use one of their preemptory strikes on this juror? I don't understand it.
Well, they might have run out of strikes, and then one juror left because I guess the commute was too long. So that brings in the alternate, and the alternate, one of them, is an Obama donor. I think we know how that one's going to go. Susan Constantine, thank you.
They should have done this with the Trump trial and just pick jurors that are going to side with Trump. But then again, this is New York City, so they're hard to find in New York City.
So much. We always appreciate your analysis.
You're welcome.
Well, today, Biden's Justice Department got in front of the courtroom with a plastic bag in hand and pulled out Hunter's laptop. The same one that was censored before the 2020 election, the same one that 51 intel officers said was Russian disinformation, the same one Joe Biden said was fake. The Justice Department admitted it's real, and they've had it since 2019, but they didn't want us to know about it before we voted last election. Now, there's no hiding it. They're using the laptop as unimpeachable evidence in a federal gun trial. John Kiriakou is a former CIA officer and whistleblower.
That's insane. Just based on that alone, Trump should win the next election. The fact that everything on his laptop is real. So I think more advertising needs to be put out there. Like, yo, this is a crazy family. We've been through some crazy shit. Maybe they need to go home and relax and let the Trump come in.
They're able to melon scoop certain stuff out of there for taxes and guns, but they're just going to leave the rest of the laptop that points right to the big guy alone. How does that work?
Yeah, that shouldn't work. First of all, you're exactly right. We have to remember that 51 very, very senior CIA officers, former CIA officers, said this was a Russian disinformation operation, which clearly and obviously it was not. Hunter Biden said it was his computer. The Justice Department said it was his.
You know, it's crazy that this guy's a former CIA officer. Wow.
His computer. And the contents have been published by the Marco Polo Foundation. So we know what's in it, and it's ugly. With that said, there's no reason under the sun to cherry pick some of the evidence out of this thing. Either it's going to be evidence in legal proceedings or it's not.
Now, it's going to be used, I believe, in the tax case in September. How can they work around that? All of those text messages and email communications, a lot of them involved Joe Biden.
Yes. Yeah, Joe Biden has said from the very beginning that when Republicans on Capitol Hill quoted these text messages, they were taken out of context. Well, now's the time to prove that that's the case, because these things are going to all be out there in the public domain, and the American people are going to be able to make their own decisions on it. If these were taken out of context, now is the time for Joe Biden to get ahead of it.
And you heard
that's crazy. Taken out of context was obvious. Like, people can't see this man going through hell.
Heard about the whistleblower saying that the Sugar Brother was untouchable. The CIA says don't lay a finger on the Sugar Brother's beautiful head of hair. Why would the CIA want to cut off an investigation into the guy lending the Bidens money?
Yeah, Jesse, I think the CIA is lying about this. The CIA made an unequivocal statement that nothing that the whistleblower said was true. But he has doubled down, and he's got the evidence to prove that he's telling the truth. And so the CIA's got to come clean. Either they tried to kill this investigation or they didn't. Just saying that they didn't. And not just that, they said it was absurd. They're going to need to put up, or they're going to need to shut up.
Okay, well, when the CIA tells me something, I assume the opposite is true, but I think that's probably a good way to go about life in the United States. John, thanks as always. We always appreciate your analysis.
Thank you.
Biden's attorney general gets his head kicked in on Capitol Hill. More on that. That Donald Trump's been convicted of a crime that nobody can name. Joe Biden's calling him a convicted felon. But Trump wouldn't have been convicted if it weren't for Biden. Today, Biden's attorney general, Merrick Garland, went under oath. Does he think it's weird that his number 3 guy, Matt Colangelo, spontaneously decided to take a pay cut and help Alvin Bragg take down Trump weeks after Trump announced he's running?
You had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo.
false.
Matthew Colangelo became the assistant attorney general at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with.
Who takes a downgrade? Who goes from having a great job to having an okay job? I don't know, man. This sounds crazy, but what do you think? Comment down below. This man, it shows prosecuting Trump wherever Trump is being prosecutor, and you sent this guy. This man is what's it called, a killer?
The lawfare coordinated
I'm
by
saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he he applied for a job there and got the job.
If Johnny took a pay cut to be my neighbor's landscaper, you'd think I'd say he probably just applied for the job and got it. Come on. Biden's guys are coordinating all of these Trump prosecutions. If you watch the show, we've proven it. Today, the Attorney General stonewalled.
Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. So I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
If you make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the
So send us a letter and we'll get back to you. Never. Garland also won't turn over the audio recording of Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur, where the president couldn't remember when he was vice president or when his son died and just rambled on about a client with a severed testicle.
Are you the arbiter, the decider of whether or not those tapes will be provided to this Congress at the subpoena of its committee to investigate the president?
Constitution requires me to protect the separation of powers and our ability to do investigations in the future.
Have you listened to the audio recording?
I have not, because there's no reason for me to listen to it.
I have a feeling Trump's going to listen to the tapes after he's inaugurated, probably puts them on Truth Social.
Yeah, once Trump goes in, he got to let all that information out.
Garland also said special counsel Jack Smith never tampered with evidence when he raided Mar-a-Lago and fanned out Trump's documents and slapped folders on top that said top secret.
Prosecutors aren't supposed to tamper with evidence, and it looks like that's what he did. He changed the sequence of the documents that he seized from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sorry, that's a false characterization, but that is ongoing.
Here's what he said to the court, Mr. Attorney General. There are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as in the associated scans. I mean, he said it. I didn't say it. He admitted to the court that they tampered with the evidence. He mishandled the very documents he's charging President Trump with mishandling. And I'm just asking, do you regret picking this guy as the special counsel in the most important special counsel investigation probably in American history?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the words tamper in the statement that Mr. Smith filed. He did not use those words.
Dave,
this man is using mental gymnastics to just protect himself and to ensure the narrative stays that everything was done properly. I mean, can he just speak clearly, yes or no?
Rubin's the host of the Rubin Report. He joins us now. So when you take documents and you fan them out beautifully, and then you bring to the raid things that say top secret, slap them on top and take pictures and then leak them, is that tampering?
I think that is tampering. I am not a lawyer, but I believe that is tampering. I mean, the entire farce that we just witnessed for a few hours today was almost exactly like what we saw with Anthony Fauci testifying yesterday at Congress. These people never take responsibility for anything. The clip that really I thought was the most interesting there was the Matt Gaetz one. Because all he's saying is, if you guys have emailed, if the Department of Justice has perhaps emailed Bragg's office, can we just see that? And even that, we can't even get an answer as it relates to that. You know, Jesse, I was watching the show in the green room, and I'm starting to see a theme here.
What's that?
That if you're a Democrat, you can basically get away with everything. And if you're a Republican, you can't get away with anything.
That's right. I know. I was a Democrat when I was a teenager.
You know, it's the Republicans' fault. They got to be stronger and tougher.
Sure. Yeah. Like, look where that got me. But so if you're saying, if he's asking you, could we see correspondence? If you corresponded, why don't you say, sure? Ask my team. We'll get it to you.
Because
why does he have to act so guilty and weasel around the answer for 5 minutes? It's because he is guilty. They probably have been coordinating.
Yes, that's exactly right.
You think we're ever going to see any of these documents, or is it going to be in 2040?
I think it will be closer to 2040 than 2024, let's say. I think this is what the Democrat machine, the deep state, they've done unbelievably well. They put a bunch of people in positions of power who never, the buck stops with nobody.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there.
Oh, refer.
I'm gonna pause it right there. Let me. The buck stops there. Be right back.
To that office. Oh, call.
Right. Beautiful head of hair. Why would the CIA want to cut off an investigation into the guy lending the Bidens money?
Yeah, Jesse, I think the CIA is lying about this. The CIA made an unequivocal statement that nothing that the whistleblower said was true. But he has doubled down, and he's got the evidence to prove that he's telling the truth. And so the CIA's got to come clean. Either they tried to kill this investigation or they didn't. Just saying that they didn't. And not just that, they said it was absurd. They're going to need to put up or they're going to need to shut up.
Okay, well, when the CIA tells me something, I assume the opposite is true, but I think that's probably a good way to go about life in the United States. John, thanks as always. We always appreciate your analysis.
Thank you.
Biden's attorney general gets his head kicked in on Capitol Hill. More on that. That Donald Trump's been convicted of a crime that nobody can name. Joe Biden's calling him a convicted felon. But Trump wouldn't have been convicted if it weren't for Biden. Today, Biden's attorney general, Merrick Garland, went under oath. Does he think it's weird that his number 3 guy, Matt Colangelo, spontaneously decided to take a pay cut and help Alvin Bragg take down Trump weeks after Trump announced he's running?
You had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo.
false.
Matthew
False.
Colangelo became the assistant attorney general at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
Johnny took a pay cut to be my neighbor's landscaper. You'd think I'd say he probably just applied for the job and got it. Come on. Biden's guys are coordinating all of these Trump prosecutions. If you watch the show, we've proven it. Today, the attorney general stonewalled.
Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fani Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own
The question is whether you
decisions.
communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them and will you provide those
If you
communications?
make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative
But see,
Affairs.
here's the
So send us a letter and we'll get back to you. Never. Garland also won't turn over the audio recording of Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur, where the president couldn't remember when he was vice president or when his son died and just rambled on about a client with a severed testicle.
Are you the arbiter, the decider of whether or not those tapes will be provided to this Congress at the subpoena of its committee to investigate?
Let's finish it up right there because I keep watching the same videos. Where are we? If you're still watching, thank you for tuning in. Verbal on Life. My name is Noel. Over here in my basement, trying to be Verbal on Life, battling MS. Took a small break, but I'm back. I got to fix my audio. I don't know what the hell. I got this microphone. I don't know if it's working. But yeah, Fox News pointing out the obvious, and people hate him because of that. You know, it's crazy when they hate you for pointing out the obvious, and that's life. When you are honest and just talk honestly, people hate it because it goes against what they think. It goes against their narrative. Look at, who's that? RFK. campaign ending.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I just can't see it. You know, so many people keep telling me that RFK Jr. is going to be pulling voters away from Trump. I mean, even RFK said it himself. Of course, I've played that clip so many times, but I just don't see it. I just can't see a world where Trump voters, the 75 million of them, who showed up to vote on Election Day 2020, come out in droves on Election Day 2024 to vote for this guy. RFK Jr. supposedly aligns with Trump voters, even though most of the things that he says reminds me more of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He's essentially a far leftist. He reminds me more of Bernie Sanders than any right-wing finger I could think of. The clips have been absolutely disastrous for this guy, and here's another clip of RFK Jr. saying the darndest things. We got some stuff to get into, but this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's play that clip. This video is brought to you guys by our friends at American Hartford Gold. Folks, we're facing uncertain times. It's been a real rocky 3 call. With one phone call, they could deliver physical gold and silver straight to your door. Insidious tax of inflation.
Let me fast forward. That was a commercial. But politics. It is an election year. I think that's what I'm talking about it a lot.
Style Democrat. Take a look.
Amory Levins calculated that the true price of a gallon of gasoline, if the oil companies had to pay the true price, would be about $12 a gallon. So that's what we're paying for oil, but they don't pay it. You and I do. And if
oil is more like $6 when you go. Well, actually, you know what? I haven't gotten oil in a long time. I don't drive a gas car anymore, thank God.
If they actually were forced to internalize those costs, to pay all the healthcare costs and the crop damage and the acid rain damage and all that other, and the pollution costs, and that was reflected in the price of oil, then we'd be paying $12 at the pump, and we'd be sending the correct signals to the marketplace. And the market would be saying, we need an alternative to a gasoline car, because every American would say, well, it costs about 0.3 cents a mile to drive an electric car, and it costs about $4 a mile once you get, to buy a gasoline car, and we'd very quickly transition, and you would incentivize all these people out there who are adding efficiencies to
doing mental math, the math magic he's doing, trying to get us to understand all of this Green New Deal crap.
Lithium-ion batteries and looking at different battery systems.
He's essentially advocating for the destruction of the fossil fuel industry. And I guess the way you achieve that is with tariffs and regulations on foreign imported oil while reducing domestic supply, essentially destroying the oil industry. And then, of course, slapping a boatload of taxes on top of the equation, driving prices to the point where you're paying $12 at the pump, all in the name of forcing electric vehicles.
That's insane. $12 at the pump? Jesus.
Down people's throats. How completely insane. He's talking about using the government to sabotage the energy industry. It's insane. We're talking about economic suicide. What it sounds like is a moral argument, but even then, it still makes no sense. Destroy domestic energy, tax it into oblivion, destroy economic prosperity while the rest of the world is drilling away and capitalizing on American economic decline. Yeah, that's not how you save the planet. That's a 101 class on how to destroy your economy. These are RFK Jr.'s crackpot ideas. Honestly, I think he might have went to the same school of economics as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say AOC. AOC is the maniac that's doing all of this. She got that beauty magic, or beauty privilege is what they call it. Because she's beautiful. She gets to say all this crazy stuff, and people seem to ignore it. Or Democrats seem to ignore how nuts she is. Just like when Trump went to the Bronx, and everybody loved Trump at the Bronx. Hopefully he flips New York. Come on now. But let me see here. Almost going on into an hour. If you're still watching, go ahead and click on that like button. My name is Noel, battling MS. Here at Verbal on Life, making sure to be verbal and getting more people to be verbal about things that are going on in society. Right now, the big thing is politics, and we got to talk about it before the election time. We are in June. What is this, June 5th? So June 21st is going to be the the debate, and that is going to be monumental. We're going to try to cast a stream every day between now and then, and just give you guys updates. Try to inform you guys as much as possible. That's my goal with these videos. Hopefully you gain something out of this and are able to walk away with some new ideas, and just understanding that there's people like me that think similar to you guys, or helping you guys understand all the craziness that the media is trying to feed you about what's okay and what's not okay. Well, you heard what I had to say. Not okay with the border crisis, not okay with all the illegal migrants coming through. And we got to say something. And also the prices of things. Everything is much more expensive. And you know what? A lot of people say that's normal. Moving forward, things go up. That's just how life is. But I don't know how the hell did Trump get gas so cheap? Grocery was cheap when he was in office. A lot of things were more economical. People were making more money. What's his magic touch? And that's a billionaire helping us out. That was a crazy, crazy time when Trump helped everybody out. But it is what it is.
But the reality is that RFK Jr. is just a sucker for a left-wing cause. The more progressive and idealistic, the better. As if it wasn't bad enough that this guy signed on with the whole BLM stuff, he's championed turning Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day, and he continued to defend his stance on that issue. Up until just last week with Tim Pool in the video that we covered, we've seen his stance on abortion. It's arguably the most extreme of any presidential candidate ever.
But so to leave, so in other words, keeping it as is, with Roe versus Wade having been overturned and leaving it up to the states to determine if and when a woman can have an abortion?
No, I wouldn't leave it to the states.
You wouldn't, right?
No, I would.
You would say completely, it's up to the woman.
My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have government involved.
Even if it's full term?
Even if it's full term.
After birth, even full term, or murder after birth. Trump said that was funny.
Okay.
And on top of all of it, he's a AOC Green New Deal carbon tax supporter.
I think the Green New Deal is, all of that stuff is important, is good. We ought to be pursuing it. My approach is more market-based than kind of top-down dictates. I believe that we should use market mechanisms like carbon taxes and the elimination of subsidies. And I think that those are the things that would transition our economy fastest from a coal-based economy that is kind of with the rule.
Quote, he believes that we should use market mechanisms like carbon taxes. Market mechanisms. Interesting terminology. And let's relay it to what's currently going on. Let's put it into current day perspective. One of the most important issues for voters right now is the cost of energy. Gas prices are nearly 50% higher than they were from day one when he took office. People want lower gas prices. They want energy independence, not energy dependence. Frankly, people want energy abundance. And in that environment, here comes RFK Jr. appealing to the people running for president, talking about carbon taxes and $12 gas. There's no way this guy is pulling votes away from Donald Trump. And look, maybe...
You know what? I don't have a good argument. I used to like RFK. I thought he had a good... I think he had a good point. Interesting points, I should say. But once you really take a listen, insane conversations.
He is right now in the polls. Maybe this early in the election, there's people who just don't know. They're getting called, getting surveyed, and they're saying, you know what, I like RFK Jr., I'm going to vote for him. But once they wake up, there's no way. When it's actually time to select a candidate on that ballot, once
you wake up and realize what the hell he's talking about, it makes you realize, I guess Trump is the only one.
Everything's done and dusted, the debates are over, once all the candidates have made their arguments, or when some of the candidates have been exposed, and RFK Jr.'s left-wing extremism certainly is getting exposed. This happened on Sean Hannity's show the other night.
He could be maybe one of the most liberal candidates to ever seek the presidency. He supports everything from a carbon tax. He supports, reparations, affirmative action.
He supports affirmative action. Oh my God.
He once called the NRA a terrorist group. He endorsed just about every major Democrat this century, from Kerry to Clinton to Obama, etc. His hashtag on Twitter at the time has always been
donated to Obama.
And keep it in the ground. He's against fracking. He's against fossil fuels of all kinds.
See, a lot of the points that he's making right there is just to win votes. But it got to be more than just winning votes. It's actually coming through and doing something that will help the community, help the majority of people. But all of that right there they listed, all of that is just to win votes. That's the worst stance.
Well, once the Trump voters see it, there's just no way that RFK Jr. contends. You see some polls where he's polling at 12%. I think a lot of those people are going to ditch at the last second, vote for Trump like their lives depend on it. But most importantly, like their pockets depend on it. $12 gas. This guy wants to Mad Max reset the world. This is some liberal New World Order crap that obviously has no appeal to Trump voters.
He said Mad Max.
RFK Jr., in my view, is essentially Bernie Sanders 2.0, but just from a Democrat legacy family. He's getting fully exposed here. The last 3 or 4 months have been an absolute nightmare for his campaign. The clips continue to pile up. I think with time, his campaign is going to fade into complete irrelevancy, and theoretically, that should benefit Trump. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right. That's the liberal hive mind. And yo, RFK did sound like a nut right there. He sounded crazy. Just wants to get vote. Because at this time, you know, a lot of people, they like AOC and what she's saying, even though it makes no sense, but they just like hearing her. She got that, what's it called, beauty magic. So RFK right there just sunk himself out of elections. At this point, he just made people go to Trump. Trump is the only one who makes sense. How can that man make sense and relate to the regular person? A super billionaire like Trump, he connects with the regular American. You got to give the man props. The man is a genius. So tell me what you think. I got to write a script when I'm talking to the camera, because sometimes I lose my mind and I forget what I was talking about. RFK. I didn't know he supported Green New Deal. And the whole abortion idea, he says he's not pro government should decide, that the woman should decide all the way till birth. Insane. Like, did he really think about that before saying it? You know, I don't know if it's a woman's decision up to birth or even beyond birth. Trump is funny when he said that. That's why I'm laughing. Because you know what? At the end of the day, the hoes may be the ones deciding. Okay, so I've been over an hour. I think that's enough. Let me take a small break and try to work on my thumbnails. See what I can do. Peace.
Verbal or life.